Calling our meeting to order at 9 a.m. At this time, we have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Pastor Chad Bass.
Precious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this great day that you've allowed us to have today. We thank you, Father, for this wonderful opportunity that you've allowed us to be here, Lord, to take care of business, Lord, for this city, Lord. Lord, we ask you, God, to give us the grace and the mercy to handle things, God, according to your will. Give these commissioners and this citizens, God, the words of wisdom to speak today. That, Father God, that this city, Lord, will be done in the eyes of Christ, that your perfect thoughts will go forth, and, Lord, the life of God will show forth through every individual in this house. I ask that in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Bass. This time we have our public commentary, Tony Bostic.
Tony Bostic, 159 North Kimbrell Avenue. Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. In spite of the history of outstanding service that the city manager, Ms. Vicki Gaynor, has given to the city of Lynn Haven and its residents, she is still the lowest paid city manager in Bay County. In support and urgence for you to right this fault, let facts be submitted to a candid world. At the end of fiscal year 2018, the city of Lynn Haven had $17.8 million in its total cash operating accounts. Today, the city of Lynn Haven has more than $26.3 million in that very same account, an increase of 9%. General fund in fiscal year 2018 had only $6.8 million. Today, the general fund has $15.8 million, an increase of 132%. In 2019, the city owed a total debt of $66,969,731. At the end of this fiscal year, that debt will be down to $31,493,431, a decrease of 47%. Ms. Gaynor has secured more than $26.5 million in grants for infrastructure projects, oversaw the Rails to Trails project, opened up Lynn Haven Bayou Park and Preserve, instituted a resident newsletter, restored the iconic City of Lynn Haven clock, and every event hosted by the city has grown exponentially over the past 6 years. She has accomplished all of these milestones while weathering repeated attacks by some of the most unscrupulous individuals and their supporters, and yet still serves this city with strength, confidence, fidelity, and grace. With such an established record of achievement, why is there even a question as to her worthiness of fair compensation for extraordinary service? Those that oppose this writing of an obvious oversight prove that their bias is rooted in something other than righteousness and stand as a glaring example that they are not like us, that believe in what is right and just. I urge you to approve the proposed salary increase for Ms. Gaynor without further debate or delay. Thank you, and please do the right thing.
Thank you. Jerry Parker.
Mayor Parker, Rhett Place. I'd like to counter what was just said. I am going to speak on item number 14 in more detail. And these are some of the reasons why I don't think that she deserves a salary raise. Ms. Gaynor came in without any experience as a city manager at all. She has learned that through her current tenure. However, if I read correctly, she came in as a put-in person after the hurricane at like 105. Then she got increased to 143. That's a big jump, guys. That's a huge jump. Not only that, she's getting COLA raises. That's a COLA raise in 4 months. She got it in October. So now you want to raise it again? Like I said, I'll be discussing this more in detail when it comes up. These are some of the reasons why I don't think that she should get it. After the hurricane, it is my opinion, that Ms. Gaynor ignored the corruption that was going on in this city. There was loads of corruption going on in this city. I will never believe that she ignored all of it. I watched her testimony in federal court. It was not so truthful. I'll bring up some of that too. You can't look at the amount that y'all are wanting to put in. I think it was Panama City is 183,000. Mayor, are you kidding me? 185? You want her to be making more?
No, I'm not kidding you. And that city manager has no previous city manager experience.
However,
There's no however. No
yes, there is
previous
a
city
however,
manager
and I will
experience.
tell you why. They are 36,000 population. We are 20. You are 4,000 away from doubling that. That's a fact. That's a fact. So no, I don't agree with that. Mr. Bostic's opinion is his opinion. We all have opinions and we know what they're like. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. George Hines.
Morning, y'all. George Hines, 603 Rhode Island Avenue. Citizen of Lynn Haven for over 30 years. I've been coming to this commission meeting for over 30 years. Some people come to commission meeting when they have something to bitch about. Some people come to city commission to find out what's going on in their city. You work for the citizens of Lynn Haven, not the citizens of Panama City. So what happens in Panama City don't have to happen in Lynn Haven. Some people want my police chief to apologize to the city because he may have made a sin. All he has to do is apologize to Jesus and carry on with his life. Everybody have a vendetta around here about certain things. The people that see 1.5 commissioners, probably because they think they can control 1.5 commissioners. I see 5 and I talk to 5 every time I come here. If I got an issue, I take them to God. I don't take them to people. I appreciate y'all help, what y'all do. I hope you do the right thing with the promotions or whatever you decide to happen. Whatever rate it is, it's up to you. Citizens pay the taxes and you manage the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Rich Walker.
Morning. Long time ago, I did get over and discussed this document, book, quite extensive, Robert's Rules. And I mentioned there was a problem with it because you keep forgetting one thing. The city's document, which is our charter, adopted Robert's Rules. But in writing, it doesn't even tell you what edition it is. Robert's Rules was written in 1880. It was written for military. The military are in a different form of justice, UCMJ. This was done to put order to meetings they're having in the military. It doesn't transpire to parliamentary procedure. Parliamentary procedure is quite different. But in the previous pre-meeting, I heard somebody say something about Robert's Rules. First of all, you got to take a look at the charter. You realize the charter is outdated. It should be rewritten from day one. If you're going to adopt something, a rule, put the exact addition, what the law is. Just don't say Robert's rules. That doesn't mean anything. A lawyer cannot defend that. Robert's rules are just that, rules. Rules are made for one thing, to be changed and to be broken. We have in the pre-meeting somebody saying they're going to give us a lecture on Robert's rules. That person is not qualified to do it. Robert's rules are ordained by a certain group. You have to be parliamentary rules certified to do it. As the city of Lynn Haven does, hire somebody expert to come in here and design what you need in your charter to cover Robert's rules. This is my edition. I also have another edition. It's Robert's Rules for Idiots. I believe that's the book that you guys are using. Thank you.
David Wagner.
Hello, I'm David Wagner, 1506 Illinois Avenue. Longtime resident here. I have a few things on my mind on behalf of myself, my wife, and my Dalmatian dog. I've lived here for 20 years. And respects for you folks up there, taxpayer, public servants, and all the free people behind me. The Bill of Rights is my main focus. My main support is what we fought in the military for. And it is the only thing that's been fighting bigotry in this country for hundreds of years. And it's not just against skin color. It's against whatever people choose on the target. February 20th, 2020 at 10 a.m. the city supposedly heralded as location, location, location. Did any of you have your elderly retired military existence crushed and suffocated under the bullying of one hot-headed, egotistical, overstepping so-called investigator who, without any evidence at all against you, but only some wild imaginative talk and hearsay by some accusers, that made that tax paid by a city official decide to not just send you to the back of the bus or kick you off of a park bench as they might have done 60 years ago? No, they threw you completely out of all parks for the rest of your life, only based on nothing but made-up slander and defamation for some possibly prejudiced, attention-seeking young basketball kids at a park and their parents launching an evil witch hunt just like they did in Salem, Massachusetts in the 1600s, where hundreds of elderly, struggling old ladies were rounded up, tortured, made to give false confessions, or they were hung. If a child was killed and a church preacher was also stoned to death, this is the reason for the making of the Bill of Rights, folks. It was, okay. Those dark days back then were the entire reason of the invention of the Bill of Rights, ever coming to existence, so that towns across the nation would represent the ideals of the new nation of America. And they'd rather that many real criminals be let go without facts than harm one single innocent, lonely person. And it seems that continually more awful bigotry against some particular type of targeted person, again, thrives. For several more centuries, and this country continues on with any bigotry they want, but the target in their sights might look different. Maybe now it's the elderly, retired people, good veterans, especially older guys, people who look and act just like the city's founders a century ago who are pro-equality. They like fishing, hunting, swimming, nature, parks. They called it a heavenly place. They called it a haven. So it would be the best town on earth. But is it location, 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 or is it location, intimidation, exploitation, surveillance, and lies? Does the bigotry and denial of Bill of Rights continue, but only the gavel changes hands? There are two kinds of people. The good are, of course, Jesus Christ, who saves your soul, and secondly, the American servicemen who will give their life for you. Amen.
Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's report. I'll keep my report brief. I did have a chance to meet with several citizens since the last commission meeting to discuss various concerns or various questions they had about the city of Lynn Haven. Thank you to the city manager and staff for fielding some of the calls that I received in regards to some issues that were happening with some of our sewer throughout the city. So thank you all for following up on that and resolving that issue so quickly. Also had a chance to be a speaker at the local state prison for their GED and construction course graduation. And so very proud of those gentlemen for their perseverance, and hopefully they continue to do well once they leave that facility. Also had a chance to attend some different events here in the city of Lynn Haven. And so again, thank you to the locals who put on those events so that we could be greatly entertained. That is my report for today. Commissioner Peebles.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say thanks to everyone that reached out to me the past few weeks. Please continue to do so. Also want to say thanks to the staff, police, fire, everybody for holding down the city the past few weeks. With that, I kind of want to use my time in my commissioner report to bring up the potentially adding non-binding referendum questions to the ballot. I have created some. I know that we talked about a few weeks ago, potentially everyone that up here that wanted to bring two to the table, and then we can kind of discuss what we want to put on the ballot. Has anyone submitted any questions or what have you? When do we want to? Because the deadline's coming up on, I believe, the 14th. So we kind of needed to decide today if we're going to do that or not. So I'm just trying to get consensus. I don't know if you guys want to hear what my questions would be, and you want to share your questions, or what route we want to take with that.
We could add it as an agenda item number 19, and we could discuss it then.
That's fine. All right, I'll make a motion to add an agenda item at number 19 to discuss adding non-binding referendum questions to the ballot with possible approval.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second. Was there any commentary from the public? All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed.
All right, well, that will be my report. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Perno.
I have nothing to report other than thank our city employees and first responders, and appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right, Commissioner Ward.
I just have one thing. I'm glad, Commissioner Peebles, you brought up about the election ballot, because I had that on here too. I was wondering about that. This past Sunday, Panama City had an event where a mayor from Greenville, South Carolina, talked about their town, how they revitalized it from an old textile industry that kind of went away. And they did all these things, these nice parks and everything. And it was a really great learning experience. I learned about the hurdles that they went through and the planning that took place. And I even got the gentleman's book. Ben Yankee was there, our CRA director. It was a lot of great information. So I talked to him a little bit afterwards, and I'm hoping to get him back down here to kind of pick his brain on some innovative ideas. Not that Lynn Haven's not great, we are, but we always want to look at improving. But it was a great event, and I learned a lot. Some of the things I learned was about public-private, called P3, public-private partnerships is one of the things that they use to generate revenue for some of these projects. So it gave me a lot of ideas whenever we go over the comprehensive plan and Unified Land Development Code. And so it kind of gave me some more ideas, and it was a great event. So yes, and just like Commissioner Perno always says, I do appreciate everything that the staff and first responders, everything that they do, and dispatchers. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Vandegrift.
This past week, the Department of Transportation held a public workshop on the plans through 2035. And I attended. I thought it was very interesting. No members of the public attended. And, you know, the TPO, Transportation Planning, plans short-range plans and long-range plans, and it's a very important committee. And I would encourage the citizens of our town, whenever they have an opportunity, to view their objectives and their long-range plans, to do so.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, commissioners, for your reports. City manager.
Any questions about the warrant list? Okay. Next is our Employee of the Year presentation. This is Employee of the Year for 2024. We are so absolutely excited to recognize an Employee of the Year. We started this program again back in 2024, and we did them by quarters. And we had 4, and then we voted on those top 4. That would be the Employee of the Year. And that Employee of the Year is Courtney Turner. She is the Supervisor for Animal Control. And she has just tremendous dedication and commitment to excellence. She is valuable to the city. She exemplifies those core values, and she's an ideal employee, unwavering in her help for all of our animals here. She has a passion for all of our animals, no matter what they are, and handles every situation with efficiency, and has built some really meaningful relationships with residents. She also is very good at educating residents about the animal control and how to really take care of your animals and what happens when those animals may get out of control. She has provided so many great updates to us that we put in place. You have passed with ordinances and really following policy, how it should be followed. She has also put together a volunteer network for the animal control. And we have so many volunteers that come in and feed the animals, pet them, walk them. And that just takes developing a great relationship with people in the community. Of course, many of you may see her in her creative outreach where she goes on a live broadcast with WJHG and showcases some of those adorable animals that get adopted very, very quickly. And she is just very, very engaged with everyone here within Bay County. She is one that she loves to handle and try to solve problems, always available 24/7 if you need her, and just has created a very seamless approach with the police department and how we handle those animal issues and underscore, again, education. It's our job to keep the public safe, but it's also our job to educate people who own animals to ensure that everyone is safe. And so Courtney has that can-do attitude, just a bundle of joy, if you will, and always willing to help. And so this year, Courtney is the Employee of the Year. I'm going to ask her boss, Ty Ferris, if he would come up and also just say a few things as well. Just a few updates, Mayor, if you will. We had our final flag football game a couple of weekends ago, and in the middle of that, we had volleyball season. Now we're advertising for adult volleyball, and that's going to start in April. As I've told you before, we have 72 teams that have signed up for baseball this year, baseball and softball. Our city is really, really growing. We are working with our lobbyists and looking at other avenues to try to add an additional field. That will surely release some of the pressure that's on 17th Street. It gets pretty congested there, and so if we can find additional funding to put another field at the sports complex, that will help us so that people and coaches will be able to practice on days they want to practice. Right now, it's pretty much a challenge to try to get everyone in on a practice day because we have so many fields, so many teams, but Lynn Haven is growing. We're giving you a really great recreation and sports program, and thank all Justin and his team for doing that. The HMGP, that's a grant that we applied for. Those generators for the lift stations are back. They're for lift stations 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they've been delivered, and the contractor will complete the tie-in for those very soon, within the next 2 weeks. They are very important. If we lose power, those generators will help the lift stations to keep going. If you will, I just wanted to remind you of the Black History exhibit that's in the back that will be here until the 18th. Florida Got the Blues. All of this is history from the state of Florida that we got from the Museum of Florida History. And then we will actually have a finale on the 18th where we will have the Reverend Sean Amos. He is the son of the famous Amos cookie that we used to all eat, and he'll be here. He's an artist now, and really is very engraved in blues and other things within his music profession, but he's also a storyteller. And this will tie in very well with what we will do. So this is free and open to the public on February 18th. Please don't forget, on February 20th, we have our health fair that will be right here at the Senior Center. It is open to the public. We normally have about 35, 40 vendors that will come through, and you will be able to chat with them. Then, of course, everyone always looks forward to our art showcase. That is always just a great time for all of us. Commissioners who will judge the art, and then we will recognize all of those individuals, all those students who submitted art from various schools, and they will receive prizes. And then we will be doing just a free paint and sit that will be here in the chambers on the 28th. So we invite you to take part of all of these activities and how they will be working. I did attend, along with some other staff. We met with Bay County to discuss our future wholesale sewage treatment and our next steps in the feasibility study. Those talks and discussions are going on well. The city just got some preliminary numbers, and it looks around about 4,800, close to 4,900 additional connections. We are working on a timeline, the city is, of what it would look like within maybe the next 2 years as Bay County works to kind of get a scope of work that maybe Raftelis would give to us, ensuring that we are working together. We know this is a partnership. City is not, going to just take the brunt of it. Bay County has been so great just to say, yes, that's part of this entire project, that we will be involved and really help with this process as well. And so we're pretty excited where it's going. You'll hear more about it maybe in the next couple. Also wait on to see if the legislative appropriations, we will get any funding from that, which is about $1 million for the feasibility study. sidewalk project for 15th, 16th, and 17th Street. Hopefully that will begin soon. That project has been given to 850 Construction. And so I just want to remind people that construction will be on those areas for sidewalks that will be coming very soon. And I want to thank Lowe's. They actually donated a playground set. It was worth about $3,800. It really is for, anyone 5 and under. And so we're looking at a place to be able to put that playground, probably looking at Porter Park because the playground equipment there is gotten a little bit old, and we really want the young to enjoy that playground equipment. So thank you, Lowe's, for giving us this equipment. And Mayor, that is my report.
Awesome. Thank you for those updates. And once again, congratulations to our Employee of the Year. City Attorney.
No report.
All right, moving on to our consent agenda, approval of minutes 128-25, regular meeting minutes, approval to declare asset 429-3585 surplus and authorize staff to auction off on governmentdeals.com, approval to declare assets 3318, 3543, 3591, 3682, 3817, 3862, 3887, 3942, 4014, and 4106 surplus and authorize staff to auction off on govdeals.com. Approval of renewing Linda Hamilton's appointment to the Lynn Haven Police Pension Board, and approval to declare asset Gator 13382 surplus and authorize staff to auction off on govdeals.com. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Peebles. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno.
Yes, and
Commissioner Peebles.
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Moving into our old business, discussion only pertaining to specific parking requirements for recreational vehicles. Any updates or input from our city attorney?
I do have one update. I did, following our pre-meeting, I did check to see when this ordinance was coming before the Panama City Commission. Their first reading of this ordinance is today, and their second reading, public hearing and adoption, is scheduled for February 25th.
Okay.
So y'all are considering it simultaneously somewhat.
All right, and not sure if, Sam, if you were able to receive that document from okay, so you do have that. That's one of the things that we said we would sort of look over the weekend, see if there was any discussion or input in regards to what Panama City is considering. They may make some changes during their meeting today, but as of now, that's what they're considering is what's in that document. So, and of course, some of the things that we discussed on Friday, of course, this is just discussion only. So is there any thoughts, Commissioner Peebles?
Thanks for asking. First of all, this reading over this, it's very solid. I was pretty impressed, I'm not gonna lie. They covered a lot of stuff that I may not have thought of either. And so it was a really solid document, but there were a few areas that I just maybe had some questions about more than anything. For our packet, it'd be on page 49, I believe. But my question would be, I guess maybe more for Chief Ramey or our code enforcement, is when talking about the visibility triangle, is there somewhere else that describes or is very cut and dry what that visibility triangle is? Okay. Yeah, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. It's in the ULDC. Got it. All right, cool.
I have to tell you, I'm not familiar exactly with the dynamics of that triangle. I certainly will review it as everybody else does, but what we discussed on Friday, I certainly want to see what Panama City does and then what adjustments they make before we make our opine.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because the way I see it is just that might be the one area that if there might be arguments between code enforcement and the citizens that maybe we can prevent if we can figure out exactly what we're looking at on that. And then the other thing is on number 9 there, it says shall not permit any major recreational equipment used for commercial purposes. I get the intent of that, for sure. But I don't want, like, there are local businesses here that own like food trucks. And if they're like a small food truck, I really don't want to like prevent that from happening. Because there might be a potential where they use that every single day. And so to have them put that in their side yard where they already have a fence, or in their backyard, that could become pretty cumbersome and potentially have them lose revenue in their business. And we certainly don't want that. So that was just something that came to mind. If we want to potentially look at wording it a little bit differently to maybe give that caveat to, if it's quote unquote commercial, we could give them the opportunity to where they could have it as the same as a recreational vehicle if it meets certain standards, like a small food truck or something like that. That's my thoughts on it so far.
All right. Commissioner Perno?
I believe we covered a lot on Friday morning, but to recap, we have to decide whether we have over 300 RVs parked in driveways right now. If we don't do anything, we might have a lot more parked in driveways that are in storage and so forth, if the rules aren't set and specific or whatever. But I got an email from someone who made several suggestions, but one of them was that, as a commission, that we're weak in trying to adopt what Panama City's doing, but we have the same law firm who's drawn it up for Panama City, and it's probably not going to cost us as much to adapt what they have. So I don't consider it weak. I consider it kind of savvy on our part to do this. So with that all said, I'm wanting to see what they adopt and change and what we can go forward with, and that's it.
All right, Commissioner Ward?
Actually, Commissioner Perno, the attorney for Panama City is actually a different attorney than our law firm, so.
I thought it was the same. I thought they had everybody. So.
Like Blue Burke.
Oh, it's
or
Burke
something.
and Blue, that's right.
Burke and Blue, yeah.
Well, they used to have us.
So, I thought we had good discussion on it on Friday. The only one the one part that I'm kind of struggling is the number of vehicles. It has one in there. Is that what we want to stick with? Like, let's say you got a couple jet skis, a boat, I mean, to me, I'm starting to lean towards, as long as it all fits on the driveway, I'm okay with that. So, but other than that, I like the way it's written.
Did you say as long as it's all on the driveway? Okay, I just want to make sure we're properly.
Because I think, as you're saying, the way it's written, you can only have one of those on the driveway, and then if you have a boat or some other recreation, it needs to be in the backyard. Right. Commissioner Vandegrift?
I think it needs to be limited. I don't want to look out my window at the front and see a whole bunch of RVs, jet skis, hot dog stands, taco stands, whatever. I think it needs to be limited to one, and I don't think it needs to be a commercial one. I mean, we have to keep some kind of control, whereas the police doesn't have to make decisions about, is it within the visibility triangle? And it needs to be very specific so that the police aren't put in the position to have to determine, is that in the visibility triangle or not? So, again, I think it only needs to be one recreational vehicle. no commercial, and very specific on the visibility triangle.
All right, thank you.
And I know Sam believes it's, private property and they own, and I appreciate that, Sam. But I live in a section of town that is very restrictive, and it's kind of nice not to have to worry about the visibility at the stop sign or driving down the road.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think what I would say to that is, if that kind of stuff is like truly important to you, then there are HOA neighborhoods that you can live in that limit that. So if that's like a big deal to you, then live in an HOA. But I also agree with you, though, that we do need to be very specific, like you said, and come together, and I'm willing to talk back and forth and figure out, because ultimately it's what the citizens want. It's not what I want. So I hear you, and I appreciate with what you're saying.
And that's why there's 5 of us on this committee.
Yeah.
We have varying opinions.
Well, over the next couple of weeks, encourage you to reach out to citizens, get their feedback. I'm sure they're going to reach out to us, as they have done, and provide some feedback, and we'll continue discussion into our next meeting. All right, agenda item number 14, discussion of possible approval of Resolution 2024-12447, Second Amendment to City Manager Employment Agreement. City Manager, if you read that by title only, please.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, approving a second amendment of the city's agreement with Vicki Gaynor as city manager clerk.
All right, so we did discuss this in extensive detail on Friday. And I'm going to ask, I know Commissioner Peebles was not able to be at that meeting, if there's any additional input that he has in regards to that discussion.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. So, yeah, I do. First, a great discussion back and forth in that meeting. It was talked about extensively, so I was able to hear how a lot of you felt about it and things like that, and that was great. My thoughts on it are this. I have quite a few thoughts on it. Well, first of all, I wanted to say, since there's 5 items, it might be more efficient if we vote on them individually rather than...
No, sir, we're not. Just one contract. That's been the protocol.
Okay. All right, that's fine. But that being said, there was comments made like, well, the commission should have brought it forward, or the city manager should have brought it forward. It's a contract. So my thoughts on that is there's 2 parties in the contract, so they're both equally responsible for if they want to update that contract to do that. And that's what's happened this time. The city manager, or the city attorney rather, brought it up. And so I think it's fair that we look at it that way, that we are 2 parties negotiating a contract. Another thing I wanted to look at is I just wanted to encourage that when we talk about this, that we look at it objectively. Like, for example, I don't want anyone to go into this and say, hey, I'm mad at the city manager, she shouldn't get a raise. Or to say, the city manager is perfect, she should get a raise. We need to look at the context. For example, like for me, I can't sit up here, you can't say that I've been done all bad as a commissioner, but you also can't say that I've been a perfect commissioner, because realistically I haven't. So when we look at contract negotiation, let's try to stick away from the on or off, 1 or 0 style. Let's talk about it, really dig into the weeds like you all did. I just really want to encourage that. And the main thing, I think the main goal, the main thing I drew from it is it seems to be, and it's been updated in the document that we got, that there seems to be a pretty strong consensus on the 5% thing. What I really wanted to look at really was, I think we can make this really simple. Well, really, maybe that's a stretch to say really simple, but there is a way to simplify this a little bit more. And I think to just kind of get the overall goal. And to me, the way I think we should be looking at it is, we want to get what the city manager's salary is, and we know going forward what that salary will be, so we don't have to worry about, the ifs, buts. We know what it is. We know how it's going to be affecting the budget. And one of the things that's been brought up a lot lately is the overtime thing. And the city manager was very gracious to say, look, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not trying to seek whatever. And so I appreciate that. So thank you for doing that and being very transparent about that. For me, if it was just me and I was writing a contract, the way I'd handle overtime is I would just say, I would strictly do comp time and put a cap on it and allow the party to be able to sell back any leave that they do not use. That way, it's pretty straightforward. You know how much leave they can get. There's a cap on how much comp time they have, and we can track it that way. It works pretty easy. That's what a lot of other organizations do. That's what the federal government does. You basically have, when you're an employee, you're paid for your 40 hours, and then anything that you work over that, you get comp time. And that comp time is capped. And once you reach that cap, you can potentially sell back some of your leave to get that money back because you're working overtime, and it gives you the flexibility to be able to know when you can take the time off to make up for that comp time. I just think, here's the salary. You can have comp time if you work over, because it's only fair. We can't expect someone, I know there's a salaried, let me just take a step back. Salaried employee does not mean you can work 24 hours a day and make the same amount of money. A salaried employee means that this is your salary for the year. I'm a salaried employee. I can make overtime or comp time the way that my job. So I'm just saying, what the best way forward, I think, here's her salary, whatever we decide that is. Don't even worry about the overtime. Just say if it's emergency, if it's commission meetings, if it's holidays, whatever, comp time. And then it's capped at a certain number. And then she has the ability to sell back her leave at the end of the year if she's not able to take it off. That being said, I understand that it's very important for her to be here, right? It is very important for the city manager to be here as much as possible. That being said, we do have an assistant city manager. So the time that she takes off because of her comp time, it should be able to be covered. That's the point of having an assistant city manager. So, and I'm sure I'll have some other feedback as we talk about this a little bit more, but that's really my main thoughts on it. I know that you all talked about, final thing. I think it's very important that starting from today, we have a very clear vision of how we're going to handle this going forward. We need to know when we give like, for example, this is just an example. This is not necessarily the suggestion. From today forward, on this date, we will do evaluations. On this date, we will consider a merit raise, and that's how we do it. And we also need to decide, how are we going to score this thing? How are we going to even consider, like multiple commissioners brought that up in the meeting about, maybe percentage points based on the score or whatever. We just need to have a clear thing going forward. That's fair to us. That's fair to the city manager, because we have our expectation management under control. We know what everyone is expecting. That way everyone will know. And it's only fair to the city manager. It's fair to us. It's fair to the citizens. Everyone will know what's going on. That's not to say that in the past it was done intentionally to hide it. That's not the case at all. I don't believe that at all. I just think that here's our chance to make it easy for everybody going forward, or easier. How about that?
Well, I know we've established these past 2 years of having that done in December, January, but I'll follow up with Ms. Hodges to create a schedule, and also, look back at the feedback that we did receive, or that the city commissioners had input on regarding the actual ratings and language. And so there was a lot that was said about that that she took note on, and we'll be sure to follow up with her. And then put out a schedule for that and bring that back so we can have a little more, put that schedule out, and so that way it'll be ready to go for next year. All right. City attorney.
To Mr. Peoples' point, I just want to confirm that the current contract, and we're not messing with this at all, does provide currently that a review and evaluation shall be conducted annually in advance of the adoption of the budget, so it requires the evaluation at a time certain. It also provides that the form of that review and evaluation shall be in accordance with the specific criteria developed jointly by the city manager and the commission. So you do have the ability to revise that form or perfect that form year to year.
All right, is there further discussion? Any additional input, Commissioner Purno?
Yes. I know we discussed on Friday, and we came to an agreement, so to speak, on attaching a percentage to the analysis of our scores on our evaluations, and that number's now been updated in here. And I know we spoke about the overtime and compensation and the car allowance. I think we came to an agreement on the car allowance. Now, as far as the overtime and compensation, and what you said, Commissioner, she does get comp time right now, as far as I know, correct?
She is allowed to take comp time, yes.
Has she taken comp time?
When I take off, I take PTO.
Right, but at the end of the year, I mean, is there a time that you sell your time back?
I do sell my time back because because more than likely I'm going to be over or lose it. So at the end of the year or during the year where I see that I'm going to be over in PTO, I'll sell my PTO back, but not comp time.
And that's within your contract, correct? That's all within the contract now. Yes.
The PTO
Or is that
buyback?
just what other salaried employees do within the city?
Yes, that is in the personnel policy that attaches to me in selling back your PTO.
I think a lot of what we're doing here is we have her as a salaried contracted employee, but we don't, is she adaptable to the other salaried employees within the cities? Things that like comp time. So is there wording now in the contract that gives her that ability?
So in two places. In Section 7, regarding hours of work, the employee will be allowed to take comp time off as she deems appropriate, is in Section 7. In Section 9, which is not being touched, and so it's not in the document before you, but in her current contract, Section 9 leave time does say that employees shall accrue and have credited to her personal leave account annual and sick leave at the rate as outlined in the city's personnel policy manual. So yes, to answer your question, it is currently in the contract.
And currently, no employee has accrues comp time. That was done away with, I think, several years ago, right after I came.
So no other employee but you has it?
No, sir. Some of them may have some left over from when they were here many years ago, but they do not accrue any comp time.
Okay. And with the ability to sell back comp time, wouldn't that include certain things like, the extra work that you would do on certain projects or events or so forth?
Yes, sir.
Well, hold up. You said comp time. She said she can't sell back comp time. She can sell back her PTO. It's different. So you have like accrued PTO, like for some employees at some jobs, you get like 2 to 4 hours of personal time off every 2 weeks. Comp time would be what you work over your 40 hours. So your PTO you can sell back. Your comp time you cannot.
You're suggesting that we give her a certain amount of comp time.
Yeah, and then just cap it so that way you don't have to worry about overtime. Like it would be a high number, but it'd be, that would incentivize not just her. This is looking from the role of the city manager in the future. They know that, okay, listen, if I work overtime, it's fine. I'll be able to take time off of my family to compensate for that. And then let's say it'll also de-incentivize anyone, let's say we had someone coming in the future that really wanted to run the numbers a certain way to try to maximize overtime or whatever, it would de-incentivize that because they're not really working overtime to gain more money. They're just, the only thing you'd get is more time off, you know? And if we cap that, that would also de-incentivize that. We just want to make sure it's fair to her that she can take time off to compensate extra hours worked, because that's only fair. But what we don't want to incentivize is in the future, if you have someone come in, let's say the world's worst city manager happens to get hired in 2035 or something, we don't want them to be like, oh, I get overtime and comp time and PTO. Let's see how we can work this to make my salary as high as possible. You know, I don't think she's doing that, but we want to, well, I know she's not doing that, let me say that. But what I'm saying is we just need to, my suggestion is, rather than even worrying about overtime pay, cut that out. Focus on she accrues PTO like any other employee, and then comp time, which is separate from PTO, on top of if she works over her 40 hours. And you cannot sell back comp time. You can use it. You can't sell it. The PTO is what you can sell.
So,
And everybody has PTO.
That is correct.
Okay.
and to Commissioner Peebles' point, the language of the contract now, does it cover that, or do we need to restructure some of the language in order to?
If you wanted to set a limit on the amount of comp time she could take or should take in a year, you would need to add that to the contract. It does not currently limit the amount of comp time she may take.
All right, thank you. All right, Commissioner Ward.
Oh, I wasn't done.
Oh.
So, I mean, that raises a question that we might want to, go ahead and talk about. I think I'd wait to hear what the other commissioners have to say on that, but I appreciate you putting it out that way. The other thing that I don't really think we touched on it Friday was the extension of her contract to December of 27. That would be adding a whole year to her contract. So I have an opinion on that because her contract is slated to end on January of 27, and there would be there has to be a search or a transition, or we'd have to come back and ask our city manager to stay on. So I don't know if we're circumventing that, but that's a normal process. So my feeling is that we just leave it as it is, and then at the time of her contract coming to an end, we ask her if she would stay on to the next election, or how we were going to go about searching for her replacement.
I think if we extend it to December, then that would actually put us in place to already have.
I didn't get a chance to say my feelings on Friday.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if we, by extending it to December, looking at our calendar and fiscal year, that would allow her to take us through. So let's say we start in January, or we start in May with the search. Then as that new city manager would come on, then they could actually work alongside of her in carrying us through the end of the fiscal year with budgeting and workshops and et cetera. And then when she would retire in December, then it allowed them to start in January fresh moving forward, versus bringing in someone that doesn't have an idea of how that cycle works. So I think
you could do the same thing in 26 and ask her to stay on another 4 months.
We could.
Next election.
But that commission may not do that. And so if the commission going forward, and of course the commission can always come back and change the contract too.
Well, I'll be there. You'll be there in 26.
But I think it'll allow us to already have that buried, because then that'll have to be somebody bringing back up the contract, and then we'll have a huge discussion again about it. So
that's my feelings. I'm just putting that out there. So, and it's going to have a bearing on how I vote. But And then the other two were, the other one was the retirement and multiplier factor, which we agreed was going to be exploration only at the time.
Correct.
So I'm just recapping for the public as part of what I'm saying, so.
Okay.
That does bring a question for me. So on the pension thing, how does that work with our pension board? Would it have to go to the pension board after we voted on it and they approve it, or did they already review it, or how does that work?
So at this point, nothing has been reviewed. We're just saying that we are willing and open to the possibility of considering a different multiplier, but it would have to be explored, brought back to us, taken to the pension board. So it's a process.
All right.
So yeah, so nothing has moved forward on that yet. But we just want to say that, yes, we're willing to look at that. All right, Commissioner Ward.
So I've talked to other city attorneys and commissioners and mayors. All those things that add like extra pay, such as holiday pay and emergencies and things like that. To me, it should be all encompassing in the salary. So to me, I'm of the opinion it all needs to be removed. I know I'm probably the odd one out on this, but, we all went over the evaluations. It was a scale 1 to 5. I just want the residents to know that, yes, we had an incident last year. My decision on how I rated the city manager, that was a factor, but it wasn't the only factor. Like we discussed in December, we talked about the city rebuild going from $5.2 million to $18 million. I know we're going to be having a workshop on it, but I've been asking about that for over 1.5 years. In fact, I had that on her last evaluation.
And I guess my question is on that, I'm just not understanding where the 5.2 came from and why we thought we could rebuild for $5.2 million.
So if you remember, when you first became mayor, you started the debt review committee.
Correct.
Frank Hall was the chairman of it, and he gave us a presentation on it. And they went over all the debt, and they said once the smoke clears and all the city rebuild was done, the city would have to come out of pocket approximately $5.2 million.
Right. Now, with that, and I was in on those committee meetings, those numbers were also calculated based on if we got the maximum amount back for insurance, if we got the maximum for FEMA.
Right.
If we got the $5 million back that was stolen from us, then that would put us at the $5 million. But we didn't get the $5 million back that was stolen from us. We didn't maximize on insurance. We haven't got all of our FEMA funds in yet. So yeah, we're not going to make you're not going to get the 5.2. So that's where that 5.2 number came from the discussions that I was a part of was, hey, if all of this comes in, even looking at the wiping out the 17th Street ditch loan was also part of that discussion was, hey, if this loan gets wiped out, which was, $4 million at the time, and we've paid that off now and saved us 20 years of interest, all of that is what was calculated into the idea of, hey, this is the 5.2. And so I think when you look at all those different factors, and we're still not at 18 million though. I mean, like we're still not there either. But definitely with the 5.2, I know how we got to that number, but that was on just various assumptions when that figure was given.
So every time, if it was that easier, every time, almost every time we voted something on city rebuild, I asked the question, is this all covered by FEMA? Is this all covered by insurance? And I was always told, yep, it's all covered. So I was under the impression that it's all covered. That's point one. The second point is, okay, I know there's a story there as far as how we got to what we're projecting to be $18 million. I don't know that story. I've been asking, I've been given information, I come back to the city manager, we go back over it, I still ask questions. I'm not clear on it. So, and I know the FEMA process is complex. I've dealt with it myself, but it's a big difference from 5.2 to $18 million. But again, I've been asking for over 1.5 years. That's just one example. I have others, and I don't want to bring them all out, you know, but
Now, is there anything pertaining to the contract that you have any discussion about? I know you mentioned holiday, all that being,
well, that's what I was leading
all
up to
encompassing.
is, you know, when I look at my evaluation and what I rated her at, I mean, as far as a raise goes, I know we talked about it on Friday. I'm good with where it's at.
All right. All right, Commissioner Vandegrift? Any additional input since Friday?
Well, there was a lot of discussion Friday. The point of this discussion is to correct and modify the contract at the advice of our attorney. Some of these issues she had already been receiving, and we just wanted to include it in the contract as a matter of formality. For example, the car allowance and the cell phone. You know, we are all provided cell phones, so that's nothing new. The $750 for the car allowance, whether or not it's a disagreement about whether or not we followed policy, you know, giving her the $750. So now we're going through the correct steps. The evaluation, it was my suggestion to link the raise to the evaluation. What would be the purpose of the evaluation? Is to determine the job that the individual is doing. So if they're doing an excellent job, should they be rewarded? So the suggestion was to, if it was in one area, a certain amount, and then another area, and if it was just satisfactory, then they would be getting their salary for satisfactory. But if it was above satisfactory, then they would receive a raise. That way it's logical. The board would know in the planning stages of the budget if the possibility of an increase. We discussed several percentages. We're voting today, I believe, on 5%. Is that correct?
Yes.
5%.
Could I just go ahead and say something because it didn't get recapped, just to help back up with what you're saying? Initially, when the contract was brought before us, the initial ask was 12% raise. This was kind of from listening to the meeting, this was a sort of a compromise, bringing it down to 5%. So I just want to say that publicly because I know there's been a lot of opinions on this. And so I think that piece of information is very important to state publicly that initially it was 12. The way it's written now is 5. So I just want to throw that out there to back up with what you're saying. So.
Well, mainly I wanted something that was logical and could be used in the planning stages. It would also, the city manager would also know, and the commission, when they go to do the evaluation, that this was linked to a monetary reward. The overtime, I think the comp time is a good idea. You can only sell back what's established as PTO. So it wouldn't be a case if she would be getting extra pay for her overtime. I think we do need to set a limit to the amount of comp time that you can accrue. The extending the contract, I've given this a lot of thought, and my biggest concern is in 27, there's a possibility of 3 new members on this committee. And if the city commissioner goes out in January, those 3 new commissioners, possibly new, would not have any input into who's being selected for this important position. If you waited till after the election, whatever that date is, then they would have an opportunity to have input. I don't know why somebody's shaking their head no. It sounds like a perfectly logical thing to me. You want those members to have input in the selection and then not be stuck with someone that they didn't have any involvement in choosing. The multiplier, all we're doing is looking at that. I asked for numbers and those aren't available. That's actually what we're voting on, is for them to look into it to see just what that means as far as money, the multiplier. So if we vote on that, it's simply to investigate further what the multiplier is. I think I covered all the areas that's in that.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so a couple of things that you all mentioned, or at least I think 3 of you mentioned, was capping the comp time. And I guess the question would be, if we could explain that again, or I guess city attorney, if we cap that, then what goes on with extra comp time? Is it just...
Employment law is not my area of greatest expertise. My understanding of comp time is that it's meant to be used in the same pay period in which the overtime itself is accrued. So I would defer to Mr. Peebles on exactly how that cap would work outside of one pay period.
So if it may help if we reworded that to credit hours maybe, to where you could use it throughout the year rather than the same pay period. That way, that would give her flexibility to, maybe she could save up that comp time throughout, or credit time throughout the year, and let's say she takes a week vacation, she could use the comp time rather than her PTO and use it that way.
Got it. Because I think right now, as we would have it, it would be, if there's a holiday and she works on that holiday, then she would need to take the comp time within that pay period.
Mayor, currently, there are some people who still have comp time that they accrued back in like 2016. It was a lot of it. And we have allowed them just to take it, to get it off the books. And then after that, we have not had any comp time.
Now, here the way and I guess the question would be, the way the contract reads, it doesn't specify when the comp time has to be taken, though. As I'm looking at it now, to that an employee will be allowed to take compensatory time off as she deems appropriate during said normal office hours, as long as it doesn't affect the performance of the employee in her performing her duties. So would that still cover both of the things of what we're saying?
So it currently allows her to take comp time. It doesn't require her to take comp time, and it doesn't limit it in any way.
Got it. And it doesn't limit when she can take the comp time within a particular pay period or anything like that?
No, it's entirely discretionary.
Okay. All right. Did you have something, Commissioner Ward?
I guess the way, I guess maybe I look at this a little bit differently is, to me, I don't care about capping the comp time. To me, it's more important is the city manager getting the work done. And if the city we put a lot of responsibilities on the city manager. I know it's a tough job, but if we're putting all those responsibilities on there, I think we can know that they're going to be responsible, or should know that they're going to be responsible enough to be responsible with the comp time. So to me, I like the way to keep it open-ended and just take the comp time when she wants to utilize it. And, to I mean, more important is, am I getting results? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
That's a good point. So you're right. It's a good point. I think really the point of the limit would be so that you wouldn't like manipulate
But that
in
would
the salary, but the way that the point you're making is a good point. You don't want the city manager to feel like, oh, well, I'm working over my comp time. So, I mean, would it be more so like you have to use it that same calendar year or something like that? Or are you just saying open-ended or what?
I'm assuming the way I'm reading this, I mean, according to city manager, the president has been that it just builds up and rolls over. It has been the president's. So I don't think it's fair to change how that's been operating for her in the middle of the game. And also to your point about future city managers, they would have a different contract. So then we could just, put that within the contract. I would say, from my observations when I come by the office and such, that she uses her, comp time judiciously, so she doesn't abuse it. She's here more than she's not here. And so that's the way I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't trust the city manager to be responsible for that, we got bigger problems, in my opinion.
That's true.
Yeah, those are fair points. Yeah.
All right. So with that part being the biggest discussion there, we've also had some input in regards to the actual term of the contract. Of course, it's being asked to be extended until December. And there's been some logical points made in regards to the transition. I think we do have a chance now to help project what that transition would look like in that regard, especially again with someone coming on, as Commissioner Vandegrift made the good point in regards to having the potential of 3 new commissioners and their insight and input on who the next city manager could be as well. I think that's also important as well. Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve this contract?
If I may, I just have one more question, sorry. Just because I know I'm going to have questions, I just want to be able to clarify it when people ask me. So with the way that it's written now, with comp time, is there still potential for overtime pay as well, or no?
No, there's no potential for overtime pay.
Okay, that answers my question, thanks.
Yeah. And let's be clear, there's no potential for overtime pay in her normal job duties. All of that would defer back to whatever's in the personnel handbook.
Right, so that's like the emergency, like if we had a snowstorm that happens once every 30 years.
Right.
Right, got it.
So that will refer back to that, whatever's in the employee handbook or the personnel policy. It'll refer back to that in that regards to provide clarity on that.
Thank you, that definitely clarifies it for me.
All right, was there a motion for this? To approve Second Amendment to City Manager Employment Agreement?
I'll make the motion with the exception on the extension to December of 27, and I will make it to where the extension would run through the fiscal year and end in September of 27.
Okay.
That way, the goal of the commission would be to have a new city manager in place by the beginning of the next fiscal year. There could be a search and a transition where it ends sooner and the new city manager takes over. If the concern is the election, then a group could come in April and have a new city manager in place by June.
All right, so that'll put us at September 30th.
Well, if you don't mind, Mayor, we've been added assistant city manager now. So the transition shouldn't be much of a problem, if that's your concern.
No concern, just the extension was asked for. I wasn't up for it, but it makes sense what Commissioner Vandegrift said from listening to her. And then on thinking it out through the fiscal year would be the optimal time. She can leave any time before that, but there has to be an awareness from the commission that, hey, we don't want things to overlap. We need to, we're going to have to make motions and get a search going, and know that the contract is coming in. And my original point was, hey, we could do that in 26. Her contract's going to end in January 27. And I know for sure 3 of us are going to be here. We've already done a search and hired a city manager under one of my previous tenures. Not against it, but the way Commissioner Vandegrift explained it, and from listening to the commission to try to, in all fairness, the extension's there and in what's worded today. So I said, let it run till the end of 27, or not to the end of 20, let it run to the September 27. New fiscal year starts in October. So then that gives the goal, if the commission does change over, that gives sharp goals and expectations of the new people coming in to get things done.
So you're trying to line it up with the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're saying, the transition.
Yes, sir. Fiscal year would be the budget and so forth.
Yeah, so
it's more of a money thing as opposed to.
Oh yeah, you're set yourself up to have the next city manager's salary in place for that upcoming budget.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying now.
So there'll be a search and so forth. The wheels will be turning, So
is that what you were getting at? Okay.
All right, so that'll put us section 2 for term would change from December 13th, 2027 to September, being proposed to change to September 30th, 2027. All right, that's what we're proposing. All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, motion and second. And we do have some discussion from the public. Let me get my sheet here. Mr. Corey Langford.
Good morning. I sent the commissioner some questions. Some of them asked maybe 1 or 2, but I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't receive answers for the rest.
I don't remember.
You guys have, I didn't send it to you. I said the commissioners. So I had a lot of questions, and it seems like we're getting the cart before the horse here. No one has ever said where this money's coming from. It's coming out of the general fund. I don't know. Maybe it was talked about, but maybe I'm just not a very smart individual. No one said where this money's coming from. No one has said what budget cuts or what cuts to other departments that this is going to come from, that where this is going to impact. Okay? I don't know why you guys are so focused on the timing of contracts when I think the city attorney stated that this is supposed to have been discussed in advance of the budget, meaning before. It's February. Budget's already been passed for the year. So we're already not complying with the timing mechanism that's been put in place. What makes you think that you guys are going to comply with it going forward? Okay. There was a lot of discussion in the pre-commission meeting. I listened to the pre-commission meeting, and like I said, some of the questions were asked. A lot of them weren't. I don't think you guys understand the difference between a salary and a performance-based merit bonus. You guys have talked about evaluations and this. Well, you're talking about a salary increase. So if you want to give an increase based off of merit, that's a bonus. That's not a salary increase. Okay, so let's talk about the evaluations. 4.63 last year. This year was a 4.22. There was a decline in performance, numerically. I'm not saying that she didn't do a great job, because she did. That's above average, okay, rather than satisfactory. The mayor said in the previous, well, she hasn't received a pay increase. Well, she's a contract employee. The contract is that I'm agreeing to work for you for this period of time for this amount of money. Again, if you're wanting to give increases, then make them merit-based. But we're now negotiating an entirely new contract, and again, the timing is all off because the budget's already been passed for the year. So again, brings me back to my question, where is the money coming from? What cuts in the budget are being made? And none of this has been discussed. At least no one responded to my email saying, hey, I appreciate the question. Here's where this money's coming from, and here are the following cuts that are being made to the budget, and here's how it's going to impact that department. No one's made that discussion. There's some clerical stuff, but I like the comp time being a capped comp time. You shouldn't be able to sell back PTO unless your comp time's already been used. And I'll just reserve the rest of my time for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I do have a question for Corey Langford. When did you send that email?
I sent it the day before the pre-commission meeting. You weren't here.
Okay, I'm not fine.
Receive it?
It may be in the junk email or something. I'm not seeing it.
He sent it on Thursday, but there were no questions, so I didn't follow up because I didn't see a question. You were stating your opinion. Sorry about that.
All right, there were questions in there asking.
All right, thank you. Yep. All right, Mr. Walker. Oh, you're not on for this one. Sorry about that. You're for number 16. Mr. Hines, are you on for this one? Okay. And Ms. Parker.
Okay, I just want to make a point first. There's people that come up here and state that we come up here to complain. No, we don't come up here to complain. It's called accountability. It's vital to our city structure that all of you guys are held accountable by the citizens, the taxpayers of this city. I don't dislike anybody up here. I dislike bad behavior. And I've seen a lot of bad behavior up here. Anyway, I want to give you some numbers. March 2019, 105,000 acting manager. December 2020, $140,000. It's a $35,000 increase. That's over a 30% increase. COLA 2021, 143. Now, between 2021 and 2024, there was an increase of $15,000. It went from 143 to 158. Now you want to increase it to 178. That's a $20,000 increase.
The number is 166.
But the mayor wants to increase it to 185.
Correct.
That's a $27,000
We've agreed on 166.
increase. I understand. Just giving you some numbers that I heard in the meeting, okay? So how many evaluations have been done since 2021? Can anybody answer that? 2?
We've had 2 evaluations.
So she's been here since 2019. That's 6 years. 2 evaluations?
I don't know what was done prior to. There were actually evaluations done prior to that as well.
Well, somebody just said 2 evaluations in 6 years.
No, you asked since 2021. 2
No.
evaluations. No. Know what you're asking. You asked since how many evaluations have been done since 2021.
No, I said since she was acting manager in 2019.
You
So
said
let's
since
correct that.
2021.
Let's correct that.
It's not correcting. You asked the question, how many have been done since 2021? Commissioner Warwick and myself have been here since 2021, and it's been 2. Prior to that, I don't know how many have been conducted prior to that.
Okay. However, they have not been done accordingly. They should have been done yearly, and they weren't. That's my point.
It took us time to actually put together a fair evaluation process because the previous evaluations were deemed unfair and publicly scrupulous, and so
I
we
understand,
worked
but
on that.
let me
Yep.
make one final point before my time goes up. I don't think a car allowance should be given at all. I think a
you.
city, and let me just finish
No,
my
thank
thing.
you. That's your time.
A
you.
city car should be given, and then a gas allowance.
Great, thank you. All right, Mr. Walker, you said you had something?
A little difficult to hear back there, so I don't know what you've decided, but luckily the chairman has to repeat the whole motion as it is being made. I understand that you are going to approve or disapprove of the contract extension. We went through this before with the commissioners. The Charter Review Board took a look at salary. Commissioners doubled their salary at one time, which was illegal. They did it a second time, which was illegal. They had to return the money. They never returned the first money. It was decided and agreed for in the Charter Review Board dealing with salary for the commissioners that it would hinge on cost of living. And that's what was passed. So you were not going to get any raise, but you could ask for it. Any employee can ask for a raise. There's nothing wrong with that. But this amendment, the second one, is a change of the whole contract. Why don't you just wait until her contract time's up and present it then? But again, back to my original question. What is your decision on what you're going to vote on? I didn't understand all the gobbledygook that came down.
So we've decided to change it from, the motion is to change it from December 13th, 2027 to September 30th, 2027.
That's all you've extended. You didn't do anything with salary. You didn't do anything with the car. You didn't do anything with that. Just the extension. That's all you're deciding on. Thank you. I'd like to.
No, hold on. The salary does change a little bit.
Well, the salary changes what he's referring to since Friday.
Okay,
Have
I
we
got you.
changed anything? So no, we haven't changed anything since
Thank
Friday
you.
except.
Appreciate it. Got it.
Except that, yeah. All right, Mr. Bostic.
Tony Bostic, 159 North Kimbrell. To the gentleman that addressed about the UCMJ. I know the UCMJ, a lot of you guys, a lot of people in this city would be court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, or even given a bad conduct discharge just for the sake of the way they act when they come before you guys. And as to the lady that spoke about my opinion is just like yours. You want to talk numbers, let's look at this. Panama City has 36,592 individuals, but the city manager makes $183,851. If you want to talk about merit-based, the current city manager had zero experience when he came to that job, but he got an immediate pay raise upon confirmation to that job. Panama City Beach has 19,851 people in it. That city manager makes $197,205. The city of Callaway has 13,890 members. That city manager makes $159,606. Ben Haven has 21,110 residents. Our city manager, or your city manager, makes $158,324. And kind of to backstop that, there's only 2 municipalities in Bay County who are not over the head, upside down in debt. Guess where one of those cities is? The city of Lynn Haven. Guess who helped drive that process? The city manager. I guess who's been the biggest critic? As some of you guys know, Mr. Paterno, Mr. Peebles, Mr. Warwick, Mayor, Ms. Vandergriff. Problem is, you guys entertain the foolishness because when these cats back here don't get their way, they go off on you. And if you ever kowtow to them, they got you where they want you. You can never do the business of the city. I think you guys have done a great job of managing the city. Yes, you have differences of opinion. That's just life. The old people say tongue and teeth fall out. That's the reason you bite your tongue. But you can't entertain knuckleheads and get the business done because they'll always find something. As long as you rob Peter to pay Paul, you can depend on Peter to depend on Paul. As soon as you have to rob him to pay Peter back, then they're going to find a problem with you. Do the right thing. Do what's right. Do what's honorable. Do what's just. Continue to do what you're doing. Lead this city in a magnificent way. Everybody got opinions. Don't let the opinions bother you. Yeah, take what they say into account, but do what you need to do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Bashir.
Johnny Bashir, 811 Louisiana Avenue. A couple of things. Sam's absolutely right. This is a negotiation. It's a contract. It's up for negotiation, and that's what y'all have done. That's great. That's perfect. I just have two questions, and one involves a transition in the future. Is there in the contract wording for notification of intent to leave or what it takes to notify on intent to terminate? And what is that? Is that?
It's 2 months. 3 months.
No less than 3 months prior to the expiration of this agreement, employee and employer shall make a good faith effort to negotiate an extension. But nothing in this agreement actually prevents or limits or otherwise interferes with the right of the employee to resign at any time. The employee shall provide employer 2 months' notice prior to any voluntary resignation becoming effective.
Okay, perfect. I bring that up because that does give you as a commission a chance to begin a search for a new city manager in the event the current city manager decides to resign or you get tired of the city manager and want to get rid of her. It gives you time to do that search, and I wanted to verify that that was there. The second thing, the other question I have is you talk about PTO, getting reimbursed for PTO, but I've heard a couple of times that, well, if she works a holiday or the manager works a federal holiday, does she take comp time? Is a federal holiday PTO, is that reimbursable? That's the other question I have is, if she works a holiday, is that PTO that she gets to claim back or the manager gets to be reimbursed for instead of taking comp time for it? That was just one clarification I would kind of like an answer to. Thank you.
Ms. Hodges, if you could answer that question in regards to Mr. Bashir's question, please.
Mayor. For clarification, you want to know on a holiday, does the city manager under this contract, are they required to use comp time or do they get holiday leave credit?
The question is, you can sell her PTO back or the manager can sell their PTO back instead of taking it as comp time, is my understanding. If they've used their time and work up a holiday or a vacation day, it's PTO. If a federal holidays PTO, is that sellable back to get funding for that?
Currently, under the City of Lynn Haven, all holidays are holiday leave credits. It's not PTO. And we cannot pay buyback or get paid for our holiday leave. And what I'm hearing you say, which is often appropriate in many organizations, compensatory time is just leave credit on the books that can be used in lieu of personal time off. I do want to clarify that the city manager, because the current personnel manual no longer recognizes compensatory time, she has not ever used any compensatory time for leave since being city manager. She's only used personal time off, which has a monetary value.
So, let me make sure I understand this. I understand the part you talked about earlier. If she does work a holiday, can she get holiday pay?
Everyone gets holiday leave credit on a holiday.
Right, I'm just talking about city manager. If the city manager works on a holiday, does she get holiday pay?
She would get holiday leave credit, and that could, under this contract, then be compensatory time.
but wouldn't get holiday pay?
Yes, you would get both.
Oh, okay. That's
Currently, city employees, when they work on a holiday, receive holiday leave credit, and then they get paid twice their salary for any physical time worked. It all has to do with physical time worked versus holiday leave credit.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a motion to approve Resolution 2024-12447, Second Amendment to the City Manager Employment Agreement with the change to change the term from December 13th, 2027 to September 30th, 2027. A motion made by Commissioner Perno, a second by Commissioner Vandegrift. City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
No.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Discussion and approval of Resolution 2025-02449, updating the city's cross-connection control program. City Manager, if you read that by title only, please.
Resolution number 2025-02449, a resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, updating its cross-connection control program and providing an immediately effective date.
Good morning. As you recall, we had the final ordinance reading of the Cross-Connection Control Program at the December 10th meeting. This is now adopting the updated program to keep up with DEP and EPA standards, just changing our language as we roll through this and ensuring that we stay in compliance each year with our Cross-Connection Control Program.
All right, thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Lightfoot?
A lot of stuff in the packet.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Peebles. Discussion from the public. All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. All right, discussion and possible approval to increase the purchasing requirements from $2,000 to $3,500. We did discuss this on Friday. Did you have any additional questions about it, Sam?
No.
Okay. All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Vandegrift. Commentary from the public. All right, City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. And discussion and possible approval of Resolution 2025-02450. City Manager, if you read that by title only, please.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending the final budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, and providing an effective date.
Again, discussed this in great detail on Friday. Commissioner Peebles, do you have any additional questions about this?
No, you guys did a great job explaining it.
All right, and is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve the purchase of 2 new trucks.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Vandegrift. Is there a commentary from the public? City Manager, if you call the vote.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandegrift?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. In lieu of us adding agenda item number 19, since we're not actually making an ordinance on agenda item 18, we're discussing that. I would suggest, if everybody's okay with it, we just move to number 19, since that's a little more in front of us. We can discuss 18. Yeah, we can, yeah, everybody's fine. Okay, so we're going to come back to 18 next meeting to continue to discuss that, get some input on that. But let's discuss number 19, which is discussion for possible approval of referendum questions to be added to the upcoming ballot for 2027 or 2025. All right, so Commissioner Peebles brought to us the idea of putting a few questions on to get input from our citizens in regards to referendum questions. And so each commissioner that wanted to have some input or wanted questions to be considered was asked to think of a couple of questions that we could try to put on the ballot. And so here's a time for us to discuss that and possibly approve for 2 questions to go on the upcoming ballot for this 2025 election. So we'll just do our roundtable. Commissioner Peebles.
So just some background on this. These would be non-binding. So what that means is this does not mean, it's not like a typical amendment to where you'd voted in and it takes place. This is more of, we're already paying for an election. We might as well get some input from the citizens for essentially free because we're already paying for it. So Panama City's doing it this year. They have 7 questions on the ballot. It's really 2 questions. They just broke one up into 6 different ways because there's certain ways that you have to do this. But my thought process is, 1, this is a way to get feedback from our voting citizens on a direction of certain subjects so that we know. And then on top of that, it's going to drive citizen engagement, which is what we need. I think last time we only had like 19% of the voting public showed up. I'm hoping that if people feel like they have a say more on certain specific issues that are important to them, this is their way that all they got to do is just vote when they were going to show up anyways and give some feedback on how they feel about that. So that's just some kind of feedback there. I'm all about citizen input, and I think this is a great way to do it without having to spend excess money. We've talked about doing polls on things in the past, and the reality is when you create polls or try to gather data, you have to pay someone to gather that data and sift it out properly, and that can get expensive really quickly. So this is a way that we're already paying for it, so we might as well take advantage of it and get some input back from the citizens. So that's a backstory. One that the questions that I brought up is really the same question but broken into 2 questions, because the way that the referendum template has it, you're only allowed to have yes or no questions, I believe, is the way that I read into it. And that's correct. Okay, so I may have to change mine into 1 question. But I just broke it into 2 in case other people hadn't submitted questions, and it'd just be easier on whoever had to do the paperwork. So basically, I would have loved to have been like, how do you want to do this? And give like 4 options, but that's not allowed. We can only do yes or no. But I'm going to take what I can get. But my question would be, I've had the number 1 thing that I've probably been asked about outside of our normal business stuff is about a library. And I've been very open to talking about this with people that have asked me about it. And so the reality is, though, that if we were to have a library, that it's going to have to be funded from something. We can't just use the $1.9 million from FEMA or whatever, build a library, and then magically we have a library. Because you got to pay for someone to man the library, you got to pay to keep the lights on, you got to pay for maintenance. So if the citizens really want a library, it's going to have to be paid for. So my question that I would like to add to the ballot is, the way I have it is, should the Lynn Haven fund a local library by raising the millage rate, also known as property taxes? And the other question was the same thing, and rather than a millage rate, it would be a non-ad valorem assessment fee, just like we do with the stormwater. I'm not saying I'm for or against this. This is just saying we can get a general consensus on what the citizens really want on this, because they keep asking me. So here's a way that we can find out what the general consensus is. If you're passionate about it, go tell your friends to vote. If you're passionate for it, go tell your friends to vote. If you're passionate against it, go get your friends to vote. And that way we'll know. Because I have my personal opinions, but I want to take my bias out of it, and I want to know what the general consensus is. So anyways, that's my question that I'd like to add.
Okay. Now, and I think that's a good question. And I guess in regards to clarity on some of the numbers, so we did not receive anything back from FEMA for the library. So FEMA didn't give us anything for it. We've only received insurance money for the library. And I think at this point, because as a commission, we haven't moved forward, that we've just saved that money. It's in reserve right now. And I guess it was like 1.5 approximately. Yeah. So approximately we did get from insurance 1.5 for the library. So we're holding on to that. But I think last time we met about the library, it was like, what, 90% complete in regards to the plans for the library?
It's complete.
Okay, so we're at 100% now. I know we came in at 90. We gave some inputs because we've had, 2 or 3 workshops on the library since I've been here. 2 or 3 workshops on it, made some adjustments to it. But no, I guess I think that's a good question, but not sure, do we have to raise the millage rate, I guess, overall to fund it? Maybe we would have to do that then. I don't know.
I agree. I think it's a great question. I think we need to take out the millage rate or the non-ad valorem and just put, it's going to cost approximately this amount of money to taxpayers, and then realizing that it could be tied to millage or non-ad valorem, something like that. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, maybe, we could generalize it more of like an increase in the citizens, some way that the citizens know that the money that they pay every year is going to be increased. They need to, because when I see a big number, I might be like, oh, well, they'll just find it in the budget somewhere. If it says, if I saw something on a ballot and I'm against having to pay more money, if me paying more money at the end of the year is my deciding factor, I'd like to know that that's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And I guess to both of those, it could maybe be asked like, as a citizen, are you willing to, do you, as a citizen, are you willing to help fund, the future library project or something like that?
It could be, are you willing as a citizen to raise your yearly input, financial input to fund a library or something like that? I don't know.
Do we even know how much the library is going to cost to build? Do we know that answer?
Well, it's changed since 2 years ago, so
That's why I asked.
a lot. And just so I can interject here, we do have a meeting with the Northwest Florida Regional Library Coordinator. So a question that may complement that is, would you rather, for using that your question too, but would you like to see the city completely partner with the Northwest Regional Florida Library? And I don't know how you would put the two together, but that is a possibility. So there may be some people who don't want to spend the money but would like to have the partnership with the Northwest Florida Regional Library. Just so you know that.
All right, so mull over your question, all right, and then we'll come back and see if we can get some different verbiage for it. You got something, Commissioner Perno?
I had 2 questions. One was about the technology center, library technology center. The amount of money that we had, I thought it was 1.9 million, but it's 1.9. And it was brought up by a citizen to ask if the present senior center has 2 separate rooms to it, if there was any way that we could dissect the senior center and use that side part of the senior center, enhance it, and turn that into our technology center. Now, it might mean expanding that a little bit, whatever, but I think there's feasibility there within the 1.9 to possibly supply the Lynn Haven citizens with a technology center. And then partnering with the library, the Bay County Library System. I thought it was the Bay County Library System, but whomever. So you could come to our technology center, and if you want a book or a magazine, you can get it. It would take a buffer of time, but you could come with your card, and you could have it there the next day. That would be your pickup and drop-off point. So I think it's a great question. I think, Sam, I think you are on point big time, and I appreciate that. And then the other question, and I'm going to yield to Commissioner Ward because I know he's passionate about this. The other question is, I would support the yes or no question about the city clerk, which I think you're going to cover and encompass. And I think the right time to start that would be projected so it would start within a fiscal year, so we would know that it would begin in September of said year, whether it be our city commissioners last year and her contract, so there would be a transition, so forth and so on. So I know that's going to be one of your questions, so I'm just going to proclaim support for it on the ballot, and then go from there. So,
Commissioner Ward.
Yep, that was one of my questions. And the other one I had was the meeting times. That was the two I had.
All right, Commissioner Vandegrift.
I also had the library as one, and I wanted to know how the citizens feel about financial responsibility. They feel we've been financially responsible.
All right, so seems like library is going to be one of our questions. Great. My two questions revolved around stormwater. One of the questions would be, and as Sam said, it's sort of hard to structure the question, but basically, would you like to see the city of Lynn Haven create a different tier system for stormwater allocation, our stormwater assessment? So my question would be, we have a current tier system now, but we're considering 3 or 4 other tier systems, so do the citizens want us to change? And I would say tier 3, 4, or 5, but as you said, it's not multiple choice. But do the citizens want us to consider adopting a new tier system for the stormwater assessment? And then my second question would be, do the citizens of Lynn Haven want the city of Lynn Haven to institute zoning in our ULDC? So that would be my second question, would be, do the citizens of Lynn Haven want us to institute zoning into our ULDC? I know that's something Commissioner Perno has brought up several times in the C, if that's something to consider. So we know that library is one of our questions. And here's what I'm thinking before we determine the questions, because we can stay here the rest of the afternoon trying to reword those. So what I'm thinking is that we can approve for that topic to be put on the referendum, and then actually work on the verbiage after we make the motion for that, or do we have to approve the verbiage now?
Can you hear? Okay.
Yes.
The statute requires that your ballot question, your up to 15-word caption and your 75-word question and explanation be adopted in a resolution that is sent to the supervisor of elections by the end of qualifying. So we need to recess and come back together to have y'all adopt that resolution in the form of the question itself before noon on Friday.
Got it. So
why don't we make the question, and I'm just throwing it out there, that we have the $1.9 million. Let's propose to our citizens that there is $1.9 million in insurance that was dog-eared for the library. Would they want us to take that $1.9 million, as the question was proposed to us? What are we going to do with that $1.9 million? Do we want to put it towards focusing on? We don't have enough to build a library, but with funding. So, what will we do with that $1.9 million? Do they want us to put it in a library, or do they want to put it to something else? So,
Right. I think the only way we're going to get resolution on this, we're going to have a special meeting, I think.
Well, yeah, we would have to come back Thursday or tomorrow or Thursday for a few moments.
Give him a
So we could come back tomorrow. So is everybody available 8 a.m. tomorrow?
No, I'm not.
And I guess you could actually call in. Can you call in tomorrow at 8 a.m.?
On my schedule.
Because we could actually do a virtual meeting if everybody can't come. For those that can't come, you can just call in.
We can have a
Got
physical
to have at least
quorum.
3.
Yeah.
We have a physical, if 3 of you can be here, 2 of you can call in.
Yes. Okay, you can be here at 8 tomorrow? Okay. Commissioner Vandegrift? All right. I can be here at 8 tomorrow, so you can't do...
I mean, I might be able to zoom in or whatever.
Yeah, can you zoom in?
I'll try. I can't guarantee it because I'm trying to think what my schedule is tomorrow for work. I don't remember anything on there, but
Okay.
I have it memorized.
All right, so try to zoom in tomorrow at 8 if you can. Or, yeah, try to zoom in tomorrow at 8 if you can. So 3. All right, zoom in. So we can come back tomorrow at 8 for the resolution, but we still have to decide today what we want to be in that resolution so that Amy can draft that.
So right now, I'm going to draft the following questions, which
Okay.
we can wordsmith or remove entirely. But I feel like my instructions are to 2 questions on the library. Are you willing to fund? And then are you interested in partnering or having a city-owned facility? Do you want a city clerk? Meeting times. Do you have specific meeting times you wanted to change that to?
I think I had 5:30.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
Is it 5 o'clock?
Both of them?
Yeah, I did put 5. I put after 5 p.m.
Okay.
But I think we're only going to put 2 on the actual referendum, though, 2 questions on the referendum.
Well, I'm going to draft everything and let y'all decide which 2 they are.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea.
Okay.
That feels the most appropriate thing based on all the suggestions I've heard. Have we been financially responsible regarding stormwater? Would you be willing to entertain different tiers or a different methodology, or just
No,
different tiers?
do we want to adopt a new tier system?
Okay. And then, are you willing to entertain, or would you be interested in having zoning as an additional manner of regulation?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I don't mean to complicate this. This is something I wanted to talk about on Friday, about the stormwater thing. But I did some research. I first looked at what if we added like 1 millage point to the ad valorem property taxes.
You're complicating it.
I know, but once I get there, I think you'll understand where I'm going with this. When I looked at it, it didn't work out the way I was expecting. There was too many anomalies, like big businesses like Walmart was paying substantially less, and then there was like vacant lots that were paying substantially more, the ones that had a lot of vacant lots, like, 20 acres or whatever. And then I looked at how many utility accounts, what would it cost if you put it back on the utility bill? So to put things in perspective, we have about 9,013 utility accounts, but there's 14 master meters. So to understand a master meter, let's say you have 1 master meter and it's connected to 100 units. So whatever price you put on, let's say it's $15, it'd be $15 times 100, right? So once I totaled all that up, came up, now keep this in mind, this is fluid, this could go up and down as people open and close accounts. It gives you 10,026 total times you could, whatever you wanted to charge. So what that comes out to, and that's commercial and residential, and what that comes out to is $179.53 per year, $14.96 per month. Now, with commercial, you could charge them more, and you might be able to bring that down. I mean, there's only, out of those numbers, 432 are commercial, 9,594 are residential. So even if you add more to commercial, it's only going to bring it down so much, but you might be able to get that down to about $14 a month. So that's kind of where I was going with the stormwater, with your tier and this, you know. Now, I looked at it as far as the Stantec presentation we had, even after the increase, there's going to be the first tier where some people are going to pay more if we put it back in the water bill. But the vast majority of the people are going to be paying less. Pros and cons to that, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Gotcha. So you want the question to read more along the lines of, do you want stormwater to continue to be charged as ad valorem, or not ad valorem, but assessment, or back on the utility bill?
Right. And we could put an approximate amount, what it would be on the utility bill, and then the tiered ones, we could refer them to this. I don't know if we can put like a website on there or something where they could look at the presentation from Stantec so they get an idea how much it would charge on the different tiers.
Okay. All right. Amy, if you'll work that on there as well, please. All right. Well, hey, see y'all tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, special meeting adjourned.